Super. Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Bridey and glad to have everybody participating today on this either very hot day in the Southern Hemisphere or very freezing, cold, stinking day in the Northern Hemisphere. All right, let's go to the next. And welcome to all of new people who are joining for the first time, as well as to our regular returning people. And you may have seen the agenda slightly modified now that Jennifer sent out with the invitation. So here are the topics we're covering today. We'll start with the new book that we've been working on for many months. Next, we'll move on to what we're calling the Departmental Advisory Initiative Award winners. And from there, we'll talk about the campus visits of the facilitators who will travel to these campuses this spring. Next up will be the linguistics career launch, and we have at least three people here who are representing that group, and Emily Pace will lead that discussion. And then following the discussion, we'll have a few updates. So that's it for today. And of course, if there are new things that we want to talk about, we can do that as well. Okay, so Ryle, why don't you go
Yeah,
ahead and start?
all right. So we have a new book coming out. It'll probably be ready. I am sure it will be ready for SFAA. We have the text all set, ready to format, and it's going to press as soon as we can sort of just pull all the pieces together. This is a book for instructors and departments, unlike the other one, which was designed for students. And the way we did this was very interesting, and a big vote of thanks to everybody that's listed on that cover. Um, Irene, Teresa, Jennifer, and Elizabeth. We've all worked very hard, and we involved a whole bunch of other people as usual, as writers, reviewers, advisors. So this is really a big team effort, and people are acknowledged in the text, and you'll see when it comes out who they all were, and you'll know most of them, I think. But the way we uh, decided to do this was a little different from the way we did the first book. The first book was based not entirely, but in large part on the focus groups that we had done and the Delphi surveys that we had done, where we asked um, younger instructors, what was missing. And from that, we sort of back engineered that into a set of tools to help students. This time, um, the ideas for what to go into the book came, I think, largely from the experiences that we had had doing DAI visits to universities. That's not entirely where we got our inspiration from, but as we listened to departments talk to us, as we listened to instructors talk to us, we began to realize, there are some things here that we could show people how to do that would make it a lot easier for them to do the kinds of things they say they want to do. So that's how we got the idea. And you will see there are a whole bunch, as before, a whole bunch of tools. And they break down basically into two different sections. One is a whole section of tools on how to move your entire department forward. Tools on strategic planning, tools on sort of how to hold discussions, how to make plans, how to do implementation plans, that sort of stuff. And then the second part of the book consists of tools for individual instructors. How do you do this in the classroom? How do you set up a course in that? And so we're hoping that together these two things will provide something for everybody in a department, whether they want to move forward together as a group or whether they just want to do this individually. So we have 35 tools, and I hope we only have 35. Elizabeth keeps adding tools, by the way. But I think I told her to stop the other day, and I think she did. Um, anyway, February, and we think it'll cost about $15. So that's where we are. I don't know if there's anything more to actually say about it.
Uh,
Um,
I can add that we're going to be publishing through Ingram Spark is our
Yeah.
goal rather than Amazon's Kindle publishing. So the goal is that this should have a little more wider distribution, meaning like libraries could also order, because that was a challenge that we'd run into with the Kindle direct publishing. So that is a thing to just be aware of.
Yeah, and if you want to move to the next slide, you'll see that we got some nice testimonials from people. Um, yeah, there you go. So we have these and more actually in the book. But as I say, 35 tools and text explaining what the tools are, how to use them, and why they're important. So we think it's going to be a good resource for people. And as before, we would be very interested in getting feedback from anybody that reads this. Either things that we got wrong, things that aren't there that should be, or ways that we could improve what's already there. I think that's probably all I want to say about that. Later on, toward the end of the meeting, if anybody has questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Sounds great. Jennifer?
Yeah. So I'm up on announcing our Departmental Advisory Initiative Award winners. So ACRN was really excited to be able to partner with both. It's so COPA of the SFAA, if you're familiar with that group, and the American Anthropological Association to have them co-fund this award. So the goal of the award is to help support those departments in bringing in the two facilitators as a part of our departmental advisory initiative program. Our facilitators volunteer their time, so this is like pro bono consulting that we offer, but we do ask that they help cover our travel expenses to visit the campus for that initial brainstorming workshop. So this award is to help sort of defray the cost for the department of having us attend. Um, and in terms of eligibility, the requirements are your department either needs to be a member of the AAA's DSP program, so that's a departmental services program, or one of the submitters, members of the department, has to be a member of the SFAA. So those are the kind of the two eligibility requirements. So drum roll, please. Congratulations to the 7 departments that we were able to award this to. So I think initially we kind of imagined just a handful of awardees, but we had so many great applicants. And these were pretty much everybody that met the eligibility requirements. We were able to get the commitment from both of the associations increased slightly. So we could really welcome everyone. So we've got University of Illinois, Chicago, which I think that visit's coming up pretty soon. I think Ryle's going to be heading there. Is that both you and Elizabeth?
No, Ken Erickson.
Ken Erickson. Okay, Ken Erickson and Ryle are going to go be visiting University of Illinois Chicago. Elizabeth and I are going to be braving Minnesota in February to visit St. Cloud State University up there, coming up here in a few weeks. We also have University of North Carolina, Charlotte. I know Ryle's going to be there, and who's joining Ryle?
Uh, Don Lehman.
Don
Don Lee,
Lehman. All
Don
right.
Lehman is going to be there. I'm looking forward to working with her. I know her, but I haven't seen her for a while, and I think that'll be a good will be a good team, I hope. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Rhode Island College, I think, is that you, Elizabeth, and Gigi?
Yes,
Yes.
Gigi
And then
McDonald.
Teachers College at Columbia University, they have like a specific, I think it's anthropology and education program that we'll be visiting. So that will be Elizabeth and Adam Gamwell will be the facilitators on that. For the University of Memphis, I'll be joined by Bob Wolf. So looking forward to hanging out with him. And then at Kennesaw State University in Georgia, I believe is that Ryle and Elizabeth?
Yep.
All
Yep.
right. So yeah, we've got quite the slate. You can see we'll be jet setting around the United States, and I'm really excited to see the work that comes out of this.
We've also got Bates, I think. Did we forget Bates or
So Bates was one that didn't receive the award, but we are still going to be meeting with them since they're able to find funding from their department.
yeah, we have it scheduled actually. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're in Maine, right?
They're in Maine and Susan Squires and I are going to do that.
Yeah, so we have 7 award winners, 8 DIA participants this next 2 quarters. So we'll be busy. So be nice to us if we don't answer emails fast. All right. Next up, we've got more on the campus visits. Elizabeth, did you want to share?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. So go to the next slide. So this is what we're doing this spring. And we've listed, there are 8 programs. So the 7 award winners and one other, which was Bates, and Bates will be done by Ryle and Susan Squires. So each time we say that 2 people from Acorn are going, these 2 people act as facilitators for the discussions with the faculty, sometimes with administrators, sometimes with career services. Sometimes there are graduate students or undergraduate students who are participating in the discussions. So the facilitators basically help the department or the program think through career readiness, what it wants to do, what it can do given its geographical constraints and other constraints. And therefore they perform a really good service both for the university, but also just documenting the importance of the work that Acorn is doing. And I've listed that, I've shown on the right-hand side of the screen what the DAI process consists of. And the way we think of it is in 4 steps. The first is all of the programs submit an application, and that's available on our website. And we read through that application. And then the next step is for us to have an initial Zoom call with these programs to gather more information. We go over what they put in their application, but then we ask additional questions to help us get a better feel for who they are, what the culture of that department is like, what do they think they want to do. And then, of course, we go and visit them in person, and we are on campus usually for 3 days. The first day is just a 1 hour opening presentation. The second day is a full day of discussions and a design workshop. And the third day is a 1 hour presentation back to the department. Here's what we learned from you. And by the time we give that presentation, the department has the beginnings of a career readiness plan. They then get a couple of weeks to finalize that plan. And then we have another Zoom call. And during this Zoom call, we hammer out anything that needs hammering out. How feasible is all this? Do they have enough or too much, too many activities on their plate? We don't want them to be overwhelmed, but we want them to make, good, steady progress based on a feasible number of objectives. And so once we've agreed to that plan, then essentially the clock starts ticking, and they have about 12 months to complete the implementation of their plan. And we meet with them quarterly during that 12-month period, basically to ensure that they're continuing to make good progress. If they have any questions or concerns, they can raise them, we can brainstorm together, etc. So that is the process. Now go to the next one. And I thought it might be helpful for you to take a look at the 8 schools because they're all different in very interesting ways. So I think the first thing that I noticed in just laying out a table with the programs on it is that they all vary in size. I mean, you've got, a place like University of Illinois in the middle of the city, 36,000 students. And then you compare that with Rhode Island College, which has 6,000 students. So huge differences in terms of scale. And then in addition, there are differences in what degrees they offer. Almost all of the 8, let's say 7 of the 8 offer undergraduate. And you'll see on the next slide, Teachers College does not offer an undergraduate degree, but most of them do. And you'll also see on this slide, Teachers College and Bates are the only two of the 8 that are private. So we have a range of public to private, different sizes, different degrees offered. And then the other thing of interest is that all of them are, or 6 of the 8 are actual anthropology departments. One of them is an anthropology program with geography in the same department. That's Kennesaw State in Georgia. And then Teachers College is an interdisciplinary department. They call it International and Transcultural Studies. So again, a lot of differences in these programs. And then if you look at the last column on the focus, um, many of these places, they already have figured out in a lot of ways what their problem is and what they need help with. And we ask them that specifically on their application. We say, okay, if we come to visit you, what are 3 things that you really feel you need some advising on? And they tell us. So you can just look down at those 3 bullets and you'll see the array of issues that they are concerned with. Everything from how do we increase enrollment to how do we engage our alumni to, oh, we want to develop a new master's program in applied anthropology, which is what Teachers College wants to do. So they all have different areas that they need help with. So what's great about this is that we get an understanding even before we go to that campus of what they think their problems are. Now, sometimes these areas of focus that they have listed kind of go away or get subsumed under a bigger problem or a bigger issue that they would like to investigate. Most all of the programs talk about, well, we don't really know how to put career readiness into our courses. Please help us do that. Or they will say something like, we're not sure how to handle the thesis requirements. So this is one of Bates's issues. They have a college-wide thesis requirement. And right now, it's the thesis is written as an academic thesis. And they feel that that's really not as helpful to their students as it might be. So what would we suggest? What would Acorn suggest they might do to make that thesis requirement a bit more purposeful, a bit more focused, so that not only does it incorporate career preparation, but it gives the students an opportunity to do some work and show it perhaps in a different way. So, and I'm imagining, I don't know what way, but maybe through a video. Maybe they would produce a video instead of a thesis, or maybe they would develop some kind of an applied project where there would be a PowerPoint that would result. It's hard to know exactly where that discussion is going to go, but knowing what they think their issues are before we show up on campus is extremely valuable to us. Okay, next slide. And now we have the Linguistics Career Launch, which is an exciting initiative. So Emily, take it from here.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, hi everybody. I am one of the organizers of Linguistics Career Launch. We've got a couple of other of our co-organizers here today as well, Laurel and Nancy, who I'm sure will pop up later. We were founded about 5 years ago at this point within the LSA by the Linguistics Beyond Academia Special Interest Group. We started in 2021 with a 4-week live virtual boot camp that was targeted towards primarily students, but also other people who were transitioning in their careers, primarily trained in linguistics, but also coming from other social science backgrounds as well. We followed that up with a program in 2022 that was free and primarily Twitter-based with weekly Zoom meetings, and then did another boot camp, a 2-week-long boot camp in 2024 that was also live and virtual. And between these 3 programs, we have helped hundreds of linguists and other social scientists explore careers in business, government, nonprofits, tech, healthcare, marketing and branding, research, education, and beyond. And we've done that through, in our programs, having career talks about what linguists are doing in their careers outside of academia, networking events, so both like how to network and then opportunities for people to network, skills and career management workshops. So these give people the opportunity to both learn a skill that they might use as a linguist in the working world. So for instance, how do you make a taxonomy? And what might you use that taxonomy for in a business setting? And career management workshops being things like how to write a resume, and then more types of activities beyond that. Over the 5 years of this project, so I mentioned primarily for 2021, we saw students and career transitioners, but over the 5 years of this project, we have seen an increase in faculty engagement in terms of more attendees at the boot camps, but also a lot more interest in resources like our sister podcast, Linguistics CareerCast, and our YouTube channel. So just to share a little bit more about those, because they are really good resources for folks to use in the classroom. So the Linguistics CareerCast, Laurel is here, by the way. So our podcast host is here. She does new interviews on usually twice a month with a linguist or similar who is, doing something in the working world and wants to share how they got from school to their job. Oh, can you go back to the previous slide? Thank you. And then on our YouTube channel, that is the catch-all for both the official LCL content, so recordings of the workshops and talks that we've had during our boot camps, as well as some special episodes of the podcast and some other miscellaneous content from LSA meetings over the years. I'll talk a little bit more about exploring those resources when I talk about the resources guide in a second. But our next step as a group, so as I said, we were founded within the LSA, is that we are branching out to make our own independent nonprofit. So this year, 2026, we plan to hopefully complete that transition. We'll continue to be involved with the LSA annual meeting, as well as individual department visits and other conferences that we attend either as LCL or as individual co-organizers of LCL. And once we get the org set up, our next steps are going to be exploring possibilities for different business models. We'd like to run more boot camps. We're interested in other types of events. We'll probably continue to have a virtual focus because that makes the programming more accessible and more affordable. But we are actively talking about what our future as an organization might look like. And then actually now if you want to go to the next slide. So the resources guide link, Laurel's going to pop that in the chat so that you can see that directly. What we've done in this document, this is a Google document that anybody can view, is we've taken all 82 podcast episodes and I think about 80 videos that we have from our YouTube channel, and they're all organized in these buckets that you see here on the slide. Every video that's in there, within the document, you can see the presenter or presenters and some keywords that are associated with it. So if you open that document and you wanted to search for like anthropology, for instance, you could see all of the content that we have where we've added that as a keyword. You might look for other things like ethnography or field research, qualitative research, just to help people kind of find the content that is going to be of most use to them. We've been continuing to improve this document over the years as we've gotten more feedback from folks about like, how do I use this? I think it's 25 pages long now. It's a lot of resources. It's a lot of content. And so to that end, one of the things that we've also done, you can see the links to these at the top of page 2 of the document, or you can find them pinned on our YouTube channel, Linguistics Career Launch. And we have these 2 short videos that are designed specifically to help students and faculty figure out how to use the document. So I think the one for students is about 10 minutes and the one for faculty is about 5 minutes, just to give people kind of a starting point, so that they don't feel they need to necessarily listen to like 160 YouTube videos and podcast episodes. So that's what we have been up to. This is, I guess, a little bit of an idea of where we're going and hopefully some good information about the resources that we have. I think we're going to be continuing to talk about the LCL and ACRN relationship and what we're all doing to support careers for social scientists. But I think we're taking a little bit of a pause before that. Or Elizabeth, do you want to go right into that?
Yeah, well, I just wondered if anyone had any questions related to what Emily just said, or perhaps questions for Laurel about the podcast or for Nancy. I mean, what these guys have done is absolutely incredible. And if you've never participated in the boot camp, I really recommend that you try it out. You can also put any questions that you have in the chat. So now we just thought we would talk in general about what, Acorn and LCL have like a very strong passion, I would say, in developing these career resources. And that's just a fact. That's a pattern. And so we have 3 questions that we thought would be useful to discuss. So Emily, you want to go ahead and lead this?
Yeah, of course. So Elizabeth and I have talked, of course, about how we are both doing a lot to try to prepare students in our respective fields for this. And we're wondering what other disciplines people have been exposed to that have this much career preparation for their students. We couldn't think of anybody when we were chatting. We couldn't think of any other fields that are sort of this far ahead in terms of their career prep. So that is our first question to put out there.
I feel like
if you're talking about, I mean, the stuff that's taught at universities, there are plenty of disciplines that do a much better job than anthropology does anyway. The 2 that come immediately to my mind are business and engineering.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I should have clarified that we were specifically here thinking of things like social sciences, behavioral sciences, humanities. There
Okay.
are definitely other disciplines farther afield, like business and some of the STEM ones that are doing more career stuff.
Right. Well, okay, then I would throw in psychology. My
Mhm.
degree was in psychology, and there was a whole lot more discussion of what you do with a degree. And that's because those disciplines are fundamentally professional disciplines. They see themselves that way. They understand that some of their degree holders will go back into the university and become professors, but their whole focus is really putting people out onto the market, and that makes all the difference. So I would say psychology is a pretty good example of that. It's not perfect, but But other than that, no, I agree. There's not much else that I can think of.
Brian?
Yeah, hi everybody. I just want to chime in by way of expressing gratitude for all of these resources and the effort that goes into it. I right this term I'm teaching our undergrad capstone class, which is partly about sort of what are the areas of practice out there in the discipline, and partly about career development and professional development. And man, I've used so many Acorn resources, so many of the sort of short career video clips that are on is that Napa that does those?
Yes.
Um, and it's just fantastic. So, Emily, I'm happy to see this career resources guide for linguistics oriented folks. I have several students in that class who are wanting to chart a path in that direction. And I will say, I'm in the College of Liberal Arts, and so my sort of peer departments are the ones you've mentioned, psychology and sociology and English and history. And I will often have the career development person from the college come in to this class and talk to the students about things like resumes and cover letters. And when I show them the resources that we've been using and that we've sort of built internally and used with Acorn and other partners for the last 10 years, they're just blown away. We are just far, far beyond anyone else in our college. So it's a real testament to the effort that you all have put forward.
Yeah.
Brian, let me ask you, when you have the career folks in to talk about resumes, are they giving general presentations on resumes, or do they do anything that do they come with any knowledge or resources that's specific to your students, like discipline specific, or not really? Like, do they know what anthropology is when they show up in your classroom, I guess?
Yeah, they do, but their presentations tend to be pretty general. I will usually send them the syllabus beforehand so they kind of know what we've been doing and what I think of as kind of the areas of practice for anthropology students. But it is kind of a canned presentation. And so most of the more personalized things come, through the department, through guest speakers and things like that.
Mm. So do you have an established guest speaker program where you regularly bring in folks who are working beyond academia to talk about their careers?
Yeah, we do. One is more formal. It's, more, the department will bring people in and pay them small honoraria and so on. The other one, the class that I'm teaching is the vehicle for that, and that's just a labor of love. It's usually me reaching out to people that I know or alumni, and of course everybody is super willing to come in or Zoom in and help our students.
Hmm. Yeah, we've found that in linguistics as well. We know several faculty members who do these types of guest speaker programs, and they seem to be, I think, one of the most valuable things that professors are doing for their students, because it's so often it's people who are from your own institution, right? So it's not an abstract of like, maybe one day you could have this job, but somebody who went through this program actually did get that job.
Yeah, it is. It's really inspiring for them.
Yeah, I can add, I think I've heard the history associations have done a lot of work around careers too. Though I'm not sure, I'll admit I haven't investigated the resources, but I'm not sure if that's like just at the member level and how much of that actually penetrates back into curriculum. So that's one of the things I had a question on too. So, but
Yeah,
history might be one to look at.
I also have a question about this, because the AHA does have the American Historical Association does have a like career portal, and it sort of seems to be half academic jobs in terms of the job posting side of it is academic. They do have some other resources that seem to be pretty generic. So things like how to write a resume written by someone who is a general career coach, and I think not a historian. They did put out something maybe about 8 to 10 years ago that was like a 40-page career guide. I haven't looked at that in a long time, though. I'm not sure. That might not be up to date anymore, just in terms of like, what does the job landscape look like, right? And I think a lot of what it talks about is what is the value of history as a discipline in the working world. But a lot of their stuff did seem to be behind a member login.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, if anyone happens to be a member of the AHA, that would be a good thing for us to know.
So I have a question, kind of related, coming off of something somebody said just a minute ago. The list of resources that you've got and everything are very, very good. They're very similar to some of the stuff, although some of it's a little different. But they seem to be focused mainly on helping students. And I wonder what you could say to us about your experience with working with departments. academic departments to get them to change the way they teach linguistics or the way they present linguistics, because
Mhm.
in Acorn, we have this kind of bimodal operation where on the one hand, we're producing things that are useful for individual students. They pick up, broadsheets from us, they pick up books and so forth, and they use them individually. But through DAI, we're working with departments. And that is an entirely different animal, if you see what I mean. You're talking about institutional culture, you're talking about tradition, you're talking about prejudice and sort of ignorance and all sorts of things wrapped up into it. And it's quite fascinating. And I just wonder if you could talk a little bit about that. What's it like to work with a Department of Linguistics to tell them, could you be doing more? Should you be doing more to orient your students toward a wider variety of job opportunities after graduation?
This is an interesting question. And Christine, I do see that you have your hand raised. I'm just going to respond real quick to this, and then we can move on. We have in the past tried on a couple of occasions to work with departments and have generally received a pretty frosty reception. And so that has kind of pushed us away from continuing to do that, and instead focusing our effort, our resources, which is like our time, right, on either faculty members who are willing to maybe go it alone and put this kind of stuff into their curriculum, or with students. We of course recognize that being able to change things at the department level would, hopefully have a ripple effect in terms of improving the career education experience of all of the students who come through that department. But we also, I think, given the kind of department level frosty reception that we've felt more of a pull towards helping students who need help now, right? Because department initiatives are great for students down the line, and you can have this compounding effect, and that's incredible. But there are also students who are going to graduate, in 4 months from a linguistics department, and they also, they need help now so that they don't get a job and they don't get left behind. We have, with this move, I guess this move this year to becoming an independent organization, we are hoping to kind of re-engage on some of the department questions. But one of the things, the frosty reception that we've gotten historically has come down to a variant of like, well, this is all well and good, but this isn't linguistics, and so I don't care. That is kind of the type of reception we've gotten. And so, you bark up that tree a couple of times and it doesn't go very well, and you kind of don't want to do it anymore. I don't know if Nancy or Laurel
I'm
have
here.
anything else to say on that.
Okay, thanks.
I'm here, but I don't think I think I've been. I don't know if you
No,
can
you're
hear me.
here. You're here.
Okay,
We
good.
can hear.
I would like to respond to your comment and say that yes, several times I've been asked. I've invited us to be part of the Summer Institute, which is sponsored by the Linguistic Society of America, but is run and funded by the individual campus who bid on that particular summer. And so I have approached directors of those summer schools several times and in these past 5 years and been told that offering a course such as document design would be, well, it's not linguistics. Why would we do that? And so I did it anyway, but I did it through our summer program in 2024. And then I presented to the Linguistic Society this year about teaching that course. So in the stream, in the track related to linguistics outside of academia. And I am now being invited to be on the careers panel in a month and a half at UC Berkeley. Now, keep in mind, this is 10 years after Laurel organized a full day program with 16 of us participating in a diverse set of AI related ML, LMM, all those things, as well as all the qualitative and other ways of interacting with linguistics in your lens. But 10 years later, they've discovered that there is something to be said about careers. So
we're going to applaud them and keep moving. But I don't think we have a very clear path yet, except rewarding the faculty who are already embracing this. And so our extensions may be into language departments, because some of the linguists we know who are most resonant with what we're doing live in other departments, not in linguistics. And that's okay with me, because all the students are going to benefit while we're in this terrific cultural transition.
Yeah. And one more thing very quickly, when we first started doing this, and even prior with the special interest group, there was no institutional support from the LSA. I mean, really, there was active hostility from the LSA, I would say. That's changed. So the current people who are in the LSA right now really do support what we're doing. There are other people who are members of other groups. The Lexing group, which is newly formed, have similar goals to what we have been doing. So that's a big, huge change, and we're not really sure how that's going to work out. But the fact that the LSA is now really embracing this is just a gigantic change that we were not sure was going to happen. So I think we're feeling very optimistic about that.
Christine, did you want to chime in?
Sure. Yeah, it's I guess a slightly different topic. So I'm sorry if I'm leading us away from this conversation. But one of the things that I'm thinking about is that, so I've used the version of the book. Elizabeth knows she's come as a guest speaker to my class, to my public and applied anthropology course. So I have students in that course do a lot of those exercises. We also do a community collaboration with different local entities to do research with them. I've really built up our internship program so that students are able to kind of have some professionalizing experiences and so forth. So I'm, working really hard to build out all of these kind of capacities. But now what I'm realizing is that a kind of shadow element of all of this work is that if I'm doing it and my students are benefiting from it, but my administrators and the public don't know that this is happening, then I'm not growing my program in the way that I need to for our program to stay alive. And so I feel like I'm often kind of hustling and kind of, shooting from the hip a little bit in terms of reaching out to our marketing person and saying, hey, will you come take photographs and, amplify this event that we're doing, or, trying to make inroads at various campus events to showcase what the students are up to and so forth. But I'm just wondering whether I want to kind of plant the seed. I don't want to put more work on your plate, but I do feel like this step of how do we spread the word about the opportunities that we're creating for our students within our institutions and beyond, because I feel like that's a natural extension of the work.
I love that, Christine, because I think that's something that, we've recognized too as we've been doing the departmental advisory initiative visits, and that there is a degree of marketing and promotion that needs to be happening, and that there needs to be, more of a public face to anthropology too. So I want to let you know you're not alone in recognizing that.
Yeah, and oh, sorry, Ryle, go ahead.
I would just add that I mean you're absolutely right. Doing great work doesn't count for much if nobody knows that you're doing it, and so that's not something that somebody else is going to do for you. That's something that you have to do for yourself. I mean, every successful author, musician, playwright, everybody creative in the world has had to sort of pick up and take charge of their own career. And I have to say this, I'm just going to speak frankly. I think that people in academic departments have to sort of, in addition to everything else that you have to do during the day. And I mean, we all recognize how busy everybody is and how much work there is involved in this. But in addition to that, people really do have to get up and walk down the hall and make sure that the dean or the department chair or the provost or somebody hears about what you're doing. And there are lots of ways to do it. We discuss this when we visit campuses. It usually gets into one of these discussions of this, and we ask people in these departments to please invite their dean into some of the meetings that we have. And when that happens, it's really an eye opener, both for the dean and for the department, because it turned out that there hadn't been a whole lot of conversations about this. So if we are trying to, for example, build enrollments and trying to sort of graduate people who move into jobs more quickly or more easily than before, if that's what you're doing, that fits exactly with what most college administrators are thinking about. And so they will welcome that message. It's just a question of figuring out ways to tell them. And some faculty members that we've run into have been actually rather good at it.
And so I think, yeah, that in a way, Ryle, that's sort of what I'm maybe suggesting here is that
Yeah.
as you all are hearing from people about the strategies they've used to amplify this good work,
Yeah.
that can we begin to
Yeah.
compile those
Like
ideas?
share the methodologies and
And I think
approaches.
that's an
Yeah.
excellent idea. And as you were speaking, I could see an SFAA panel, right? Where you get a half a dozen instructors talking about, here's how we did that, at our school. That might be a very good, let's keep that thought. I'll put it on a Post-it and we'll work on that.
Okay.
We did. Sorry, I just want
Yeah.
to build on that with so one of the podcast episodes that we did was actually interviewing two instructors who were using Linguistics Career Launch resources in their classrooms already, and who had these very forward-looking approaches to how they dealt with careers for their students. So for anybody who's thinking about, maybe doing another panel in the future, that might be a good episode to listen to, because they really talk about, how much they value teaching their students this career education material, and how they have actively worked within their departments and then within their classrooms to add in those resources.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
I don't know how to raise my hand.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Hanchett. Hello. This is just amazing what you're doing, but just listening to the news these days, I'm wondering if there's any kind of morale problems associated with work opportunities, because obviously they're declining for a lot of the kind of work that practicing applied anthropologists do.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a concern, and I think it's across all sectors really at this point. I think we're
Yeah.
definitely heading towards depression territory with, a lot of other chaos.
I love your optimistic spirit. It really helps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Suzanne, I put something in the chat for you. There was a great article in the New York Times this last week about the problems economists are facing, PhD economists trying to find work. So
Thank you. I
it's,
didn't see that. That's
yeah,
great.
just click on your chat and you
Yeah,
should be able to.
thanks.
So let's see if we can't try to
Getting the updates.
well, no, the last two
Okay.
questions I'm particularly curious about.
On our slide or
Yeah,
in the
this
chat?
slide right here. Yep.
I think we have
Anybody
covered some of the second question. I think we've
Mhm.
hit on in the discussion that we've had. So maybe we could talk about the third one if there's people
Mhm.
have ideas for specific opportunities for ACRN and LCL to co-brand, work on projects together, do events.
Yeah, well, we could maybe help support you if you do try to re-engage departments on how to approach them, like using our DA model, if you're interested. Because I think we were expecting a lot more resistance to this program. For example, Elizabeth and I at the most recent AAA shared about the program with the DSP program, and like we were expecting maybe a little pushback since it's kind of more of a traditionally academic crowd, and there was no grumbles, all enthusiasm. People were like, "Give me the flyer, I'm interested." So I wonder, I don't know how long ago you tried to reach out to those departments, but I wonder if the environment has shifted because I think a lot of departments now are facing much more threats in terms of their continued existence. So that's a strong motivator. And I think one of the narratives you could use in the work you do is that we've had departments that have had their deans or provosts tell them, because you did this program, we are not cutting you.
Wow, good, good.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That is a
Because they're being proactive.
yeah, because they're being proactive. That's great. That's
But
great.
the other thing is that you have to meet departments where they are.
Hmm.
And that means you have to understand where they are. You have to have sort of talk to them, you know, and I mean, we realized, I think, from talking to some of our colleagues that some of these departments were under a great deal of strain, stress, and pressure, but we needed to understand what those pressures were so that we could speak to those when we started our conversation with them, so that what we were talking about made sense to them rather than just, oh, here comes a bunch of outsiders trying to tell us what to do. And most faculty just are not psychologically inclined to respond to that in any way at all. Hell, I wouldn't respond to it in any way at all. But if somebody came to me and said, you know, we are aware, we understand how difficult you're finding things these days, we may be able to help you with one or two things. So it's more like psychotherapy, really. It's well, that sounds like it's a therapeutic thing, and I didn't mean it that way. But it's what Sharon calls reflective practice. You get into a conversation with somebody, and you're not trying to tell them what to do. You're trying to understand what they want, and then you can help them with that. And that's what I think that's the way we started, and that seems to have worked for us. At least it works fairly well. I think we could all use a little improvement here.
Mm-hmm. And I think in terms of like continued collaborations, I think we could definitely have a deeper conversation in terms of what those types of intersections might look like. Because yeah, I think there's a lot of ways that we could support each other. Like one I usually offer, since I run another nonprofit, is always just to help cross promote. So like if you have upcoming events or resources, that's something we could include in our newsletter or in like our bi-monthly meetings as well
Oh,
too.
I think we've already been doing that with some of. I think you all helped us plug our boot camp in 2024, and I'm always like, whenever I see anything come across on LinkedIn that's an event you all are doing or a resource that you have that might be helpful, I always share that out to our LCL crowd, and I also have your resources actually in our resources document. I have
Excellent.
links to that because those are great resources. So
Good. Well, it's been a great conversation. And again, I applaud you guys because this stuff is not that easy. I mean, it is easy, but it's not easy. It takes a lot of thinking, it takes a lot of effort and energy, and just to find, just to get the audience, figure out what that audience needs, and then try to provide that. It can be tricky business. So nice work. And we
Right.
would like to collaborate with you on something at some point in the future. I think that would be a very exciting thing for us to do.
okay.
The obvious way to do this, it seems to me, looking at what you've just presented, is you are working on resources to help people. And we have been working on resources to help people. And I think for both of us, these resources will not stay as they are today. They will be subject to continuous improvement as we learn more. And so that's one way that I think we could collaborate very effectively, would be to look at each other's resources and say, what can we learn from you? What can you learn from us about improving the things that we offer to students and to instructors? So I would just offer that as a great opportunity to interact and work together.
Yeah, and actually one of the ways that we always share your resources, like one of the things that I always do when I am sharing the ACRN resources with people is to say that you all are doing something that's a little bit different than what we're doing, right? So you have a lot of one pagers and things like that, to make it clear to people that I'm not pointing them to something that's identical to what they're doing, right? I'm pointing them towards something that's complementary to what we're doing. So you can go, you can read the one pager, or I think it's not a one pager. I think it's maybe a 3 or 4 pager on linguistic anthropology or whatever subdiscipline, and you could read the guides that you all have on UX and UI. And then you could go listen to one of our podcast episodes where we talk to somebody who works in UX and UI, right? We just have different types of resources. And so I always shout out that the complementarity of what we're already doing, because I want to allow people to engage with different types of resources that might speak to them differently. So thank you to you all too. You're doing great work as well.
Mutual Admiration Society, it sounds like.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, but for attendees, if you also see any opportunities for both us and LCL, feel free to drop in the chat or reach out to one of us afterwards too. All right, do you want me to go into the updates?
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. So ACRN will be partnering with 2 different universities, specific classes for client-based class projects this spring. The first one is at Marquette University with Professor Alexander Crampton, and this is really looking at the role of anthropology in personal formation and career preparation, looking at sort of the structural elements within their anthropology major there, really thinking about how that continues to operate and function as they have a pretty small anthropology faculty. I think it's maybe like 1 person that's specifically anthropology and a lot of other people cross-listed. Next is Utica University. So this is user perceptions of the impact of the campus TRIO office. So that looks like it's the first-gen low-income disability students. So that'll be Professor Helen Boulay, and that's for her class, Sociology and Anthropology. So how we approach these is we usually work with the instructor to help them think through what type of project they want to do, or help find a community partner that has a question that needs answering. And then we kind of help provide, emotional and moral support as they work through the client project across the semester. Next up, if one of you have the link handy, you could drop in the chat. But Elizabeth also want to make sure we plug our existing workbook, Career Tools for Anthropology. So this is available still on Amazon for $10. And it's a great resource for your students if you haven't already been using it. And then I think we've got a couple more slides here. So we are always looking for additional blog post contributors. So our World of Work blog includes a number of perspectives from practitioners to instructors to students. These are usually around 750 words or so. If you're interested in contributing a blog, reach out to Priscilla. I'll drop the email in the chat after I'm done presenting. But you can reach out to one of us and we can connect you. And this is also a great resource if you're mentoring a student that's wanting to work on their content creation skills. This is also another sort of venue where they can work on sharing a blog post. And then,
and could I just say something about that?
Sure.
We need more blog posts. We have, 2 or 3 in the queue at any given point in time, but they are at different stages of development, and sometimes they're not quite ready for when we want to publish them. We publish twice a month. So if any of you on this call have not yet written one, we would love to have you do that. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. You can talk about anything related to careers, preparing students for careers, or your own career, or a recent set of examples that happened to you in your career. We're just looking for ways to get new ideas out there. Not ones that, we knew about 50 years ago, but, like what's happening now and how are people responding now? So anyway, that's my plug or my attempt at begging. And I hope you'll consider it. and Priscilla will love you too. Okay.
Yes, and as somebody noted in the chat, if you want to add it as an activity in one of your courses, please do. And we also have a tool for that, so about teaching with blog posts, that we can share with you as well. All right, last but not least, we have also the Ina Rosenthal, is it Yuri?
Yeah.
Mentorship Award is now accepting applicants between now and March 15th. I believe is this through NAPA or AAA?
AAA.
Okay, AAA. So this will pair a junior and I'm assuming undergrad with two different mentors, one from practice and one from academia. And they'll also receive a $500 award and complimentary AAA and NAPA memberships. So if you have any students that are currently juniors currently juniors, make sure to share it with them. It's a really great opportunity for them to get to know some folks. And we're at time. So I want to just plug that our next meeting is going to be March 26th at the same time. So if you're not too tired from SFA, please join us. I'll be facilitating that one. And if you have any topics or information that you want to share in that meeting, feel free to reach out. So I'm going to stop the recording and stop my share.